Imagine looking up at the night sky and seeing not one moon, but two. For billions of years, Earth has had a single companion. But what if that suddenly changed? At first, it might seem beautiful. A second glowing moon lighting up the darkness. A breathtaking sight unlike anything humanity has ever witnessed. But this extraordinary change would affect far more than the night sky. Oceans, climates, animals, and even human life itself would begin to change in ways few people could imagine. Strange eclipses would appear. Tides would become unpredictable. And some scientists believe the consequences could reshape the future of our planet. So what would really happen if Earth suddenly had two moons? And more importantly, could humanity actually survive such a world? But where could a second moon even come from? Scientists believe there are several possibilities. One day, Earth could capture a wandering object, traveling through space. Another theory suggests that a giant collision could create a second natural satellite, just as our current moon was formed billions of years ago. And perhaps the strangest possibility of all, Earth may have already had two moons in the distant past. While the evidence remains uncertain, some researchers believe our planet's history may have been more complicated than we once thought. But regardless of how it happened, the arrival of a second moon would change one powerful force that controls much of life on Earth: the oceans. More than 70% of our planet is covered by water, and much of that water moves because of the moon's gravity. It creates the tides that shape coastlines and influence ecosystems around the world. But with two moons, everything would change. Tides could become stronger, higher, and far less predictable. Some coastal cities could experience flooding, unlike anything seen in modern history. Entire beaches might slowly disappear beneath the sea. Fishing industries, marine animals, and millions of people living near the coast would suddenly face a completely new reality. And the oceans would only be the beginning. But the oceans would not be the only thing affected. Two moons could slowly reshape Earth's climate in ways scientists are still trying to understand. The combined gravitational forces might slightly alter the tilt of our planet. And even small changes in Earth's tilt can influence seasons, temperatures, and weather patterns across the globe. Some regions could become warmer. Others might experience longer and harsher winters. Powerful storms and unusual weather events could become more common. Over thousands of years, entire ecosystems might adapt to these new conditions. Animals, plants, and even humans would be forced to evolve alongside a changing world. But perhaps the most noticeable change would happen every single night, because darkness itself would never look the same again. Scientists know that light influences the body's internal clock, and a permanently brighter night sky could change how people sleep and even how they feel. Some researchers believe that increased nighttime brightness could affect hormone production and natural sleep cycles. But humans would not be the only creatures impacted. Many animals depend on darkness to survive. Sea turtles use moonlight to find the ocean. Nocturnal predators rely on the cover of darkness to hunt. Birds navigate using the stars and the moon. With two moons illuminating the sky, countless species could struggle to adapt. Migration patterns might change. Feeding habits could be disrupted. And ecosystems that have existed for millions of years could begin to transform. But while some species might suffer, others could thrive. Nature has always found ways to adapt, yet one thing would be certain: life on Earth would never be exactly the same again. And the strangest consequences might not come from Earth itself, because two moons would create spectacular events in the heavens above, events unlike anything humanity has ever witnessed. But perhaps the most fascinating changes would happen above our heads. Imagine looking up and seeing two giant moons glowing in the night sky. For billions of people, it would be one of the most beautiful sights ever witnessed. But beauty would come with strange consequences. Solar eclipses would become far more complicated. Sometimes one moon would partially cover the sun. Other times, both moons could align and create eclipses unlike anything in recorded history. Lunar eclipses would become even more spectacular. The appearance of the sky itself would constantly change. Ancient civilizations might have built entirely different religions around two moons. Stories, myths, and legends would have evolved in ways we can barely imagine. Calendars and timekeeping systems might have developed differently. Even navigation could become more complex. And for future astronauts, two moons could completely transform space exploration. A second moon might become a stepping stone for humanity's expansion into the solar system. Permanent bases could be established. New industries might emerge. And future generations could grow up seeing two worlds hanging above Earth every single night. But despite all the beauty and possibilities, there would still be one terrifying question. Could humanity truly survive on a planet with two moons? And the answer may be more surprising than you think. But despite all these challenges, humanity has always been remarkably adaptable. Throughout history, people have survived ice ages, natural disasters, and countless changes to the world around them. And perhaps life with two moons would be no different. New technologies would emerge. Cities could be redesigned to protect coastal populations from stronger tides. Scientists would develop better weather prediction systems. Farmers would learn to adapt to changing seasons. And future generations would grow up considering two moons completely normal. Children would look up at the night sky and never know a world with only one moon. Art, music, and culture would evolve around this new reality. Entire holidays and traditions might be built around the movements of two moons. And perhaps, over time, humanity would stop seeing the second moon as a threat. Instead, it could become a symbol of a new era, a reminder that life on Earth is constantly changing, and that change itself is what has allowed our species to survive for hundreds of thousands of years. But there is one final question. Would a world with two moons actually be better than the one we live in today? The answer might surprise you. So, could humanity actually survive on a world with two moons? Surprisingly, the answer is probably yes. Life on Earth has always been shaped by change. From asteroid impacts to ice ages, our planet has never stood still. And time after time, life has found a way to adapt. A second moon would certainly bring challenges, stronger tides, changing climates, brighter nights, and new dangers that future generations would need to understand. But it would also bring incredible opportunities, new scientific discoveries, new technologies, and perhaps even a new chapter in humanity's journey into space. Some scientists have even suggested that Earth may once have had a second moon billions of years ago. According to certain theories, a smaller companion moon could have orbited Earth before eventually merging with the moon we know today. If that is true, then perhaps our world has already experienced something similar. And maybe, somewhere in the distant future, it could happen again. Imagine standing beneath the stars thousands of years from now, looking up into the sky, seeing two glowing worlds hanging above Earth. For the people of that future, it would feel completely normal. They would tell stories about both moons, build traditions around them, and wonder how ancient humans ever lived with only one. But perhaps the most fascinating part of all is this. No matter how strange the universe becomes, humanity has always adapted. And maybe that ability to change is the reason we have survived for so long. So if Earth suddenly had two moons, the night sky would never look the same again. But perhaps humanity would continue doing what it has always done, learning, exploring, and finding beauty in the unknown. Because sometimes the greatest changes lead to the greatest possibilities. And maybe, somewhere out there, another world is already living beneath two moons. And perhaps there is one more question worth asking. What if somewhere in the universe, another civilization is already living beneath two moons? For them, such a sky would not seem unusual at all. It would simply be home. Their stories, traditions, and entire history would have been shaped by two glowing worlds above their heads. And perhaps, if humanity survives for millions of years, future generations on Earth may one day feel exactly the same. Because throughout history, humanity has always adapted to the impossible. And maybe that is our greatest strength. Not our technology, not our cities, but our endless ability to change, to explore, and to embrace the unknown. So if Earth suddenly had two moons, life would certainly be different. But perhaps the future would still be filled with wonder. And maybe, just maybe, the night sky would become even more beautiful than we ever imagined.